On August 19, 1982, Yasuoka Atsuko, one of the most popular hostesses in Matsuyama City, suddenly went missing. The 31-year-old had worked at the luxury club Eikokute for the last year, and was reportedly saving money to move back home to Kochi to open a restaurant there. At the time of her disappearance, she also lived in an apartment fully decked out in luxury goods that was paid for by her then partner. And yet, when he went to visit her shortly thereafter, he found the apartment empty. Almost everything had been removed, and all that remained was Atsuko's beloved pet dog. Her money, her bank books, her jewelry, her furniture, and other household items. They were all gone. At a glance, it appeared that she had done a runner during the night. But this made no sense. Atsuko had no reason to leave, and even less reason to leave her dog behind. Suspecting foul play, her partner went to the police on August 21st to report her missing. However, they told him that there was nothing they could do at that moment. She was an adult, and all her furniture being gone suggested that she had simply moved. At the time, they also couldn't accept a missing persons request unless it came directly from her family. However, when her father noticed some money had been withdrawn from her account by a third party, this all changed. Police then investigated the apartment and found traces of blood on a sofa that still remained. The landlord also reported seeing people moving furniture out of the apartment on the night of the 19th. It was starting to seem like Atsuko had been killed and then robbed. Police were able to determine that a rental car had been used to move the furniture, and were then able to narrow down the driver as well. On August 24th, they visited his house in Imabari City, but he was at work at the time, so they left. The man's wife, worried, then called a female relative to let her know the police had just paid her a visit. It was this female relative who, just 5 days earlier, had suddenly called them to request help. "A friend is skipping town and needs help removing her things," the woman reportedly told them, and so they agreed to help. That woman was Fukuda Kazuko, and she was about to go on the run for nearly 15 years, almost getting away with murder. Almost. But let's rewind a little. Fukuda Kazuko, then 34, also worked as a hostess at Eikokute in Matsuyama City, Ehime Prefecture. Kazuko was married with children at the time, but she was also having an affair. She pretended that she came from a wealthy family, but in order to keep those pretenses up, she figured she'd need to actually show off some wealth, or her affair partner would get suspicious. Thus, she came up with a simple plan. She knew Atsuko was saving the money she earned from her job, and that she had a wealthy partner who provided her not just with an apartment to live in rent-free, but also stocked it full of expensive goods. So, she would visit her apartment to have some drinks together, then kill her and take her stuff. I mean, it obviously sounds foolproof, right? What could possibly go wrong here? And so, on the night of August 19th, 1982, Kazuko went over to Atsuko's apartment. The pair started drinking, and when Kazuko spotted an opportunity, she struck, strangling the woman with a kimono belt. She then wrapped her in a thin blanket and bath towels and moved her to the landing of the rarely used emergency stairs outside. After stealing her cash, bank books, and a few other small items, Kazuko then called her husband for help. She claimed she had killed Atsuko in self-defense and needed help getting rid of the body. Her husband urged her to turn herself in. After all, if it was self-defense, she would be fine. But she refused, and so he relented and moved Atsuko's body into their car. He then drove to a mountain roughly 20 kilometers from the city and buried her there. After that, they stole over 300 items from Atsuko's apartment, reportedly amounting to nearly 10 million yen in total. They called some relatives for help moving the furniture, claiming that a friend was skipping town and needs some help, and then moved said furniture to an apartment that Kazuko used to meet her affair partner. Kazuko's husband was also unaware of the true nature of this apartment, and believed his wife when she said it belonged to a friend. It was obviously a flawless plan, and nothing could go wrong. Of course, numerous people saw them moving the furniture, including the landlord. Kazuko also then got some relatives to withdraw 700,000 yen from the bank books she took. And so, when Atsuko's father noticed this, and Atsuko's partner reported her missing, police realized foul play might actually be afoot. When they discovered the bloodstains in Atsuko's apartment, the investigation then turned into a potential robbery and murder case. It didn't take long for the police to contact Kazuko. After all, she worked with Atsuko and her relatives had been seen at the scene of the crime. When she answered the phone and realized it was the police, Kazuko immediately pretended to be a child in an attempt to throw them off. But realizing that they were now on her tail, she decided she had to flee. That night, pretending like nothing was wrong, she left her family home, never to return. And she only just barely made it, as 2 hours after she left, police took her husband in for questioning, and then he was arrested under suspicion of discarding a body. He confessed and led police right to her, and the race was now on to find Kazuko herself. Before getting into details of Kazuko's life on the run, it's important to understand a little of her history first. Born January 2nd, 1948 in Matsuyama City, Kazuko was only 1 year old when her parents divorced. Her mother then moved to nearby Kawanoe City and initially made a living by selling herself at home. Then she married a fisherman from Kurushima Island, moving the young family there. But her new husband was frequently unfaithful and often brought women back to their home right in front of young Kazuko. Her new stepfather's parents and children from a previous marriage also reportedly treated Kazuko poorly, and it was not a happy home life. After giving up fishing, the family then moved to nearby Imabari City, back on Shikoku's mainland. Her mother opened a bar, but also continued selling herself on the side. Once again, this aspect of her life was never hidden from young Kazuko's eyes. When she was a high school student, a boy Kazuko was dating was involved in a traffic accident and passed away. This affected her so badly that she ended up dropping out of school during her final year, and her habits became rather self-destructive. At 17, she moved in with another man and turned to crime, then being arrested for trying to rob the home of the National Tax Agency chief in Takamatsu City with her live-in boyfriend. Kazuko was sent to Matsuyama prison, where matters continued to get worse for her. She found herself a victim of the Matsuyama prison incident, where gang members bribed guards and gained basically free access to the prison to do whatever they wanted. Some guards even joined them on their rampage through the prison, and Kazuko was reportedly assaulted by one of the guards while she was there. She was then transferred to Takamatsu prison, but she never saw justice for the attack, and she continued to struggle with what happened in the years after, moving from place to place after her release. It also contributed massively to her fear of law enforcement and being arrested once again. Eventually, Kazuko got a job as a hostess in Matsuyama City, got married, and had several children. Despite this, she was also unfaithful, much like her mother and stepfather before her. And then, on August 19th, 1982, she killed her co-worker Atsuko so she could rob her to keep up the pretense of being a single woman from a wealthy family to her then lover. Fearing arrest more than anything else, She then went on the run, something she had already spent much of her life doing. She first took a ferry to Japan's main island of Honshu. In Osaka, she transferred hundreds of thousands of yen from her husband's account into her own, and then moved to Kanazawa City in Ishikawa Prefecture. There, she started working at a hostess club under a fake name. But when news came out on August 28th that Atsuko's body had been discovered, Kazuko suddenly disappeared. When she appeared again a few weeks later, she now had a new nose and double eyelid surgery. She had fled to Tokyo for plastic surgery, fearing she would be recognized for her crime. Before long, Kazuko got close to one of her clients, a recently divorced man, and they moved to Kyoto together. Things were going so well that she feared he may soon propose to her, however, and so she soon left, fearing he would discover who she really was. She then started work at another snack bar, and with the help of an acquaintance, a man who ran a Japanese confectionery store in Neagari Town, Ishikawa Prefecture, she moved into a new apartment. Kazuko had introduced herself to this man under yet another alias, and claimed to be a Kyoto native. She fabricated a story, claiming that her parents ran a traditional restaurant and had forced her into a marriage she didn't want, and said husband was abusive to her. When the confectionery store owner divorced his wife, he then took Kazuko into his own home. Kazuko was well liked by her new partner's family, although not his children, and she was skilled at customer service as well. The confectionery store prospered, and all seemed generally well in her life for the first time in a long time. Yet, she was unable to entirely abandon her old life, and particularly her children. Whenever she contacted them, however, she made sure to go all the way back to Kyoto first, and do so from there. So, if the police ever did manage to track her, they would think she was there, and not in Ishikawa. But seeing her partner interact with his children made her want to see her own, particularly her son. Wearing sunglasses, she even took a trip back to see him in person. She was a wanted criminal, known all around the country as a murderer, and she had undergone plastic surgery to look different. Yet, she was still his mother. Seeing her son again after so long, Kazuko devised a plan to have him come back to live with her. They would claim he was her nephew, and ask if he could also work in the store. Surprisingly, her partner agreed. 2.5 years passed in seemingly bliss, but as more time went on, Kazuko's partner pressured her more and more to get married. In his mind, it simply wasn't right for them to keep living like this without officially registering their union. This was the same reason she fled her previous partner. After all, if she got married, she would have to reveal who she actually was. That simply couldn't happen. And so she continually tried to delay the inevitable, but both her partner and his family grew suspicious over her constant excuses. 5 years after leaving Matsuyama, the couple took a trip to a hot spring where they just so happened to come across a wanted poster for none other than Kazuko herself. She managed to worm her way out of the situation, but by this point, both her partner and his family were growing awfully suspicious of her. In fact, his family decided to search her nephew's belongings, and there found his driver's license, which stated his address as Matsuyama City, Ehime Prefecture. The exact same place Kazuko, the wanted criminal who looked suspiciously like the woman they had taken in, was from. The family immediately reported this to the police, and on February 12, 1988, they showed up while Kazuko was helping with a nearby funeral. When she realized the police were looking for her, She grabbed a nearby bicycle and fled, leaving her son and everything else behind. She dropped by a friend's house to borrow some money, and then decided to try her luck in Nagoya instead. Her now former partner gave the police a more recent photo of her that featured her plastic surgery for the first time, and this photo was also added to the wanted posters. Kazuko assumed yet another new name and started working as a cleaner at a love hotel in Nagoya. However, by this point, the media had picked up that she had been living under a new identity with plastic surgery in Ishikawa, so she was all over the news again. A colleague recognized her and even urged her to turn herself in, but instead, Kazuko went on the run yet again. And so, for the next few years, Kazuko travelled all over the country, never staying long in one spot, and making ends meet through a variety of jobs. Yet she always remained in contact with her son, who she had told to return to his grandmother should anything ever happen to her. In 1990, she underwent surgery again after the silicone in her nose implant failed, and the media began referring to her as the woman with 7 faces, due to the variety of photographs that were now being used on her wanted posters. She continued moving around the country, avoiding detection, and by 1996, with only 1 year left until the statute of limitations on her crime passed, she was working in Fukui Prefecture selling cosmetics. She was now 48 years old. With only 1 year left until she could go scot-free for taking a person's life, the police ramped up their efforts to find the woman with 7 faces. They released phone cards with her face on them, released recordings of her voice, and offered hefty rewards for any information leading to her capture. It's important to note that even with all her moving around the country, she still maintained an accent and dialect from her home in Ehime that couldn't be entirely hidden. The hospital that also performed her initial plastic surgery also offered a hefty reward, feeling responsible for unwittingly helping her escape. The clock was ticking, and it seemed everyone was now out to get her. Under yet another assumed name, this time Reiko, Kazuko often visited an oden restaurant in Fukui. It was this restaurant that would end up being her downfall. The owner saw Kazuko on the news, and after hearing the audio recordings, realized she sounded an awful lot like Reiko. She let the police know, but then, with only 1 month left until the statute of limitations passed, Reiko suddenly stopped coming to the restaurant. Police suspected that she had gotten wind that they were onto her, but then, one day, she showed up as usual. The owner and a few regulars acted like everything was normal, but they kept some bottles and cups that Reiko had touched and put them away for safekeeping. Police were able to test these for fingerprints and determined that Reiko was indeed Kazuko. They had found their woman with only a few precious weeks left. When Kazuko showed up to the restaurant the following day, police were waiting for her. On July 29th, 1997, after 5,459 days on the run, and only 21 days before the statute of limitations on her crime passed, Kazuko was arrested. Then, after several weeks of questioning, and only 11 hours before the statute of limitations would pass, she was officially charged with murder. She had initially tried to blame another now-dead man, claiming he was the one who actually did it. But police were able to track down his diary and confirm with colleagues at the time that he was actually in Tokyo when the incident took place. And so, at the final hour, she confessed. On May 31st, 1999, the Matsuyama District Court sentenced Kazuko to life in prison. She appealed numerous times, but in November 2003, the Supreme Court upheld the verdict and she was imprisoned in Wakayama Prison in Wakayama Prefecture. However, in February 2005, Kazuko collapsed while carrying out work in the prison and was rushed to the hospital. It turned out she had a stroke, and she remained in a coma until March 10th when she passed away. She was 57 years old. Kazuko's life on the run captured the public's imagination so much that even while she was still appealing her sentence, work started to come out dramatizing her life. Numerous books, films, and television productions have come out over the years detailing her life on the run, with the most recent being just last year. She even published her own books, writing about her time on the run while in prison, with the proceeds going to Atsuko's family. It's said the Oden restaurant owner who claimed the reward for Kazuko's arrest also donated all of the money to charity as well. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below, and if you'd like to help support this channel so you can see more content like this, please consider hitting that join button down below as well. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time.